Thank the gentleman. Mr. Aguilar.
Thank you, Chairman General Calvert.
That's right.
Thanks to the witnesses for being here.
Yes, okay, Private, go ahead.
They call this woke Democrat a private. We got a damn good show. Damn good show. But before we get to today's show, don't forget, new giveaway, Ram Diesel with the Cummins transmission, 10 grand in cash. To get in and win, just go to officialhorsestwins.com. Anything you buy on my site gets you automatically in it to win. Yeah, the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, he drags these Democrats all over the floor, makes them look like the fools that they are. Check this out.
The clock's still moving, Mr. Secretary, I want to express my severe concern with the deployment of the National Guard in Los Angeles without consultation of the state of California. There have been...
Without consultation of the state of California. Wow.
Photographs that have shown these troops sleeping on the floor and have not been provided fuel, food, or water by DOD. How long will this deployment last, and what?
That is nuts. They've been there, what, a day? Yeah. They out in the field. Yeah. You know what's crazy? We're ex-Marines. And whenever we was undergoing any training or anything, never were we provided like chairs and stuff like that. We laid on the ground all the time. Yeah, you're a soldier. Because you're a soldier. This is not an office job. Right. There's times when they can sit down in a chair. This is not the time. Yeah. They're going to make that available. But when they arrive on site, a lot of times you got all your equipment and you're just lying on the ground. Yeah, they're on the front lines. This fool is trying to make it out to be that these people should be in a luxury hotel looking at the riots from a window. Yeah, and they have no food. They probably had MREs. Yeah, probably.
Why were we unprepared to provide them basic necessities such as food and water?
No food. That's crazy. Yeah.
The commanders and troops on the field are very well prepared, sir. They responded incredibly rapidly to a deteriorating situation with equipment and capabilities. We have made sure from the top down, as a Secretary of Defense who's been in a unit holding riot shields outside the White House during the chaos of the summer of 2020. I know what it's like to be immediately deployed into a situation like that. There are moments where you make do as best you can temporarily, but we are ensuring they're housed, fed, water capabilities in real time from my office, because I care that much about the California Guard and the Marines and the men and women who are supporting our ICE agents on the ground.
You should check
it's true every day, and that's a disingenuous attack that misrepresents how much we care about our troops and what they're doing to defend ICE agents. I'm not going to take the fact that we don't care about the troops. Nobody cares more about the troops at the top than this Secretary and the Chairman and our department.
How long will the deployment last?
We stated very publicly that it's 60 days. Because we want to ensure that those rioters, looters, and thugs on the other side assaulting our police officers know that we're not going anywhere. We're here to maintain the peace on behalf of law enforcement officers in Los Angeles, which Gavin Newsom won't do.
What is the estimated cost of the deployment for the Guard and the Marines to L.A., and where's this funding coming from? Will it be coming from quality of life programs that affect our service members?
Oh, now you care about funding? You know, he's a congressman from California. You know, they have a $40 billion hole because they want to give illegals free health care. Yeah, they're broke. Yeah, but he's asking him, where's this money coming from?
Or families, if you want to wait till I finish.
Before I hand it to
such as updates, housing and barracks.
Before I hand it to Bryn, the insinuation that we're pulling money from housing and barracks in order to fund this is disingenuous and incorrect.
I'm just asking.
Bryn can give you the numbers. Absolutely.
So the current estimated cost is $134 million, which is largely just TDY costs, travel, housing, food, etc.
Oh, where's it coming from? That's the cost, but where's it coming from?
Their O&M accounts.
With the most recent deployment of the Marines, Mr. Secretary, what's the justification for using the military for civilian law enforcement purposes in L.A.? Why are you sending war fighters to cities to interact with civilians?
Every American citizen deserves to live in a community that's safe, and ICE agents need to be able to do their job. They're being attacked for doing their job, which is deporting illegal criminals. That should happen in any city, Minneapolis or Los Angeles. And if they're attacked, that's lawless, and President Trump believes in law and order. So he has every authority, and he has done mobilizing National Guard or active duty troops under U.S. code to protect federal agents in their job, which is exactly what we're doing, and we're proud to do it. We're proud to do it.
10 U.S.C. of the U.S. Code 12406 as a legal basis that the president used cites 3 examples and circumstances for the Guard: invasion by a foreign nation, rebellion or dangerous rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or the president is unable for.
Immigrants attacking ICE agents. Police cars getting just rocks thrown at them. Torched. Yeah, burning up police cars. That doesn't meet the looting stores. That doesn't meet does it meet the requirements? Don't forget the looting.
With regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. Which authority is triggered here to justify the use?
I don't know. You just read it yourself, and people can listen themselves, but it sounds like all 3 to me. If you've got millions of illegals and you don't know where they're coming from, they're waving flags from foreign countries and assaulting police officers and law enforcement officers, that's the problem.
The laws of the United States?
No, the governor of California is unable to execute the laws of the United States.
The president, you said all 3 apply.
The governor of the California has failed to protect his people, along with the mayor of Los Angeles, and so President Trump has said he will protect our agents, and our Guard and Marines are proud to do it.
The law also says, Mr. Secretary, that the orders for these purposes shall be issued through governors of the states.
You and I both know that President Trump has all the authorities necessary, and thankfully he's willing to do it on behalf of the citizens of Los Angeles, on behalf of our ICE agents, and behalf of our country.
We've also pulled $1 billion for the border as well. So this just goes into the same, fund, 134. What did
Congressman, what's the
134 million? I was asking Ms. McDonald.
Okay.
134 million goes on top of the billion that's been pulled for the
So
border.
the funding that was pulled for this year was largely in FSRM, and in this budget, we're actually looking to plus that funding back up to backfill that for our troops and for their families.
No, they're in California, they're in a $40 billion hole. That's just with Medicaid. And they're like housing these people, feeding these people, providing them SNAP benefits. Yeah. But they don't care about when it's that's in the hundreds of billions of dollars. Yeah. But now they care about 134 million.
So they rather fund people to come here through our borders illegally, take care of their housing, give them a stipend so they can get adjusted.
Yeah.
Put them up in hotels, take over old schools, resources that was abandoned by the governments and municipalities, and reopen those just to house and feed these people.
Yeah.
Illegal immigrants, but we can't send troops
to protect
the citizens of the state of California.
And the ICE agents.
That's wild.
And the police.
Yeah.
Yeah. Check out this broad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Secretary, I plan to ask you some budget questions about the following: the cost of the Qatar plane, where the money from the Army's parade is coming from, or the National Guard deployments to the border, where that funding is coming from. I honor and celebrate the United States Army, but I'd like to know how much this parade is going to cost. I have sent the department letters on several occasions on this, and I'm still waiting for a response. But then something else happened this weekend, and it needs to be addressed, and that is the president's premature and escalatory decision to deploy not only the National Guard troops to Los Angeles, but active duty Marines as well. Mr. Secretary, we're both from Minnesota. I was in the Twin Cities during the riots that followed the murder of George Floyd. Tens of thousands of protesters took to the streets for days. Governor Walz made the decision to call up the Minnesota National Guard. At no point did we need the citizens of Minnesota request that the Marines be deployed. Our state and local law enforcement, along with our National Guard, who have worked on crowd control, they were more than enough. They were more than capable of handling this situation.
It's funny how she has to read all of this stuff.
Yeah, nothing's genuine.
Yeah. Say this here. They give the say this. Ask them this.
Yeah.
We're gonna get them.
Yeah, it's not genuine. It's just talking points.
Yeah.
History has proven that law enforcement and the National Guard are more than capable of handling situations more volatile than what happened this weekend. We all see the continuous loops on TV, but this looks nothing like the George Floyd protests or the Rodney King riots in Los Angeles in 1992. Mr. Secretary, this is a deeply unfair position to put our Marines in. Their service should be honored. It should not be exploited. The President has issued an executive order and talked about deploying troops across the country. Los Angeles County has 17,000 law enforcement personnel, and the state of California has 24,000 National Guard troops. So that's why the Los Angeles Chief of Police to say, and I quote, "The possible arrival of federal military forces in Los Angeles is an absent a clear coordination presents a significant logistical operational challenge for those of us who are charged with safeguarding the city." The end of his quote. As I mentioned before, in Minnesota, we train for those things together. So there's no need for the Marines to be deployed. So here are my budget questions, though. What is the current cost for what is taking place in California, and how is it going to affect this budget?
You know, how much billions of dollars are being in damages from all these riders just destroying Americans' property?
Yeah, insurance claims going to be through the roof. I don't even know what's going to be covered because certain acts under your insurance policy, if it's a rebellion or terrorism,
it doesn't even cover it.
It doesn't even cover it, yeah.
Or the budget we're currently serving under. How much are these deployments going to cost for both the Marines and the National Guard? And what training or duties are not taking place because of these deployments? Where in your limited budget, sir, are you going to find, in the remainder of this fiscal year, are you going to pull the money to cover these deployments?
Take this paperwork. She ain't got nothing to ask.
She ain't got nothing to say either.
What holes are being created?
Well, Congresswoman, thank you for the question. You are right. We are both originally from Minnesota, which is why I recall 2020 quite well, when Governor Walz abandoned a police precinct and allowed it to be burned to the ground, and also allowed 5 days of chaos to occur inside the streets of Minneapolis. The police precinct, ma'am, was abandoned and burned to the ground. And because of that, the National Guard was eventually far too late mobilized. And President Trump recognizes a situation like that, improperly handled by a governor, like it was by Governor Walz, if it gets out of control, is a bad situation for the citizens of any location. So in Los Angeles, we believe that ICE, which is a federal law enforcement agency, has the right to safely conduct operations in any state and any jurisdiction in the country, especially after 21 million illegals have crossed our border under the previous administration.
That's crazy.
ICE ought to be able to do its job, whether it's Minneapolis or Los
I have
Angeles.
limited time. I asked a budget
And they are
question.
being-
Could the Secretary please address the budget? Thank you.
You asked about the situation in Los Angeles, and we believe
Asked about
ICE
the budget.
agents should be allowed to be
asked about the
safe in
budget,
doing
sir.
their operations, and we have deployed National Guard and the Marines to protect them in the execution of their duties, because we ought to be able to enforce immigration law in this country, unlike what Governor Walz did in 2020. There are 17,000 LAPD, you mentioned that. There would be 18,000 if not for the defund movement that folks like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have implemented.
If
The police chief said
Mr.
she was
Chairman,
overwhelmed,
if the Secretary's not
so we
going to
helped.
ask the budgetary questions, I will yield back my time if the Secretary refuses to answer the
just
budgetary
nuts.
questions I put before him. They're
Stop it.
important.
So she asks this long-winded question. She adds a lot of left-wing politics in that and a lot of mischaracterizations. And then he tries to answer your question by trying to overcome those things you said that were wrong. Now he's getting to the question that you asked, and you keep interrupting him.
Yeah.
What training missions aren't happening? Where are you pulling the money from? And how are you planning this in the
Look at this nut. That is crazy.
Yeah, it is. That's,
Democrats are nuts.
yeah.
moving forward? These are budget questions that affect this committee and the decisions we're going to be making in a couple of hours. If you're not going to answer them, please let the chairman know, and I will take back my time and I will hours.
Oh,
if you're not
shut
going
up.
to answer them, please let the chairman know, and I will. And how are you planning this?
Look at this. That is wild.
Yeah, they already asked questions about the budget.
Yeah, I already answered that.
It's just rhetorical.
Yeah.
Man, I can't believe I used to be a Democrat. That is wild. These people they are the biggest threat to our republic.
Yeah. There's no threat to our democracy. There's a threat to our constitutional republic. And it's not the Republicans. It's these fools right here.
They
It's
gaslight
Democrats.
everybody when they say they're a threat to democracy. We're not a pure democracy. We're a constitutional republic.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah. They don't realize it.
I don't think they do.
They don't.